Hi, welcome to the Avid Knits podcast. My name is Sarah, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry, both as Avid Knits. Today is Friday, May 15th, and it is gray. We're under a flood watch today, and for most of the weekend, and partially into next week. So you might be able to hear some of the thunder and the rain, and the lighting I know is a little bit weird, but I gotta get this out. I got stuff to talk about, you guys. So this is my 25th episode. Hi, welcome to it. There are a lot of new faces around here. So if you're looking for more about me, you can check out my very first episode. I talk a lot about why I got into podcasting, how I ended up in Houston, all that kind of fun stuff. But I guess kind of a quick hi, how are you? My name is Sarah. I live here in Houston with my husband and my son. We purchased this house a couple of years ago, and I decided to get into podcasting because I was having trouble finding a knit night or a knit group near me. I do have a few local yarn stores, but my favorite one that is probably the closest to my style of knitting is about 45 minutes from me. So that's a little bit far, but I am very fortunate that within an hour of me, I probably have 4 or 5 yarn stores. So that's pretty great where I come from. I sample knit, so a lot of the projects that you will see on here are not necessarily for me. We live in a place that doesn't really allow for a lot of cold weather knitting, and although I am a very prolific knitter for myself and my family, sometimes there are patterns out there that I really want to make, but I have no intention of wearing. I have one of those today to talk about. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm sorry, I'm a big fan of rain. If you guys are new, or if you're not new, you'll know that. Anytime that we have rainy weather, it's kind of my style. So real quick, top of the episode, what I'm wearing, this is the Ripple crop top by Jessie May. I don't really remember if I had this done last time. I don't think I did. I think I was almost done with it. I knit the 40 to 42 inch size. If I were to knit it again, I would not knit that size. I would go down. I should have known better. I knit her bralette, and I should have known better on how that would work. But I knit this out of Life in the Long Grass fine sock in the color Cantaloupe, and I had 6 grams left for each of the sleeves, and I bound off in an I-cord edging in a different color. So I like my shirt. It's very nice. If I were to do it again, I would knit a smaller one, and I would probably, just to shorten this part up, it does dip down a little bit lower than what I'm really super comfortable with. It's fine for around the house, but anytime that you make any movement to tip forward, you got to be pretty careful about who you're showing everything to. So I would knit probably a more outdoor friendly one, or something I could wear to the beach or something would be really nice. Yeah. I have another finished object to talk about, but I don't have it here, and I did not take finished object photos because I suck. I don't know. So I will put in my latest progress photo of it here. The person that I gifted it to is a close friend of mine who lives in Portland, and I made it as a post-maternity, postpartum kind of gift, I guess, like a happy mom gift, I suppose. And it is the Svelge sweater by Berengere Cailliau, and it is knit out of red stag fibers, estate fingering in the Cobblestone colorway. So that is 100% superwash merino. I really hope she likes it. I basically knit it for myself. So some of you will know or will remember that whenever I knit the pattern, it basically says that the armhole should only be 6 inches. Well, it's like crawling up my, and that wasn't something I wanted. So I had to rip out the whole front of it, and I just extended it so that it would be larger. I believe that I kept the V-neck. I believe I made that start at the place that it was supposed to. I might have added 1/2 inch before I started the V, and then I added length to the top. Yeah, so I mailed that out. Basically, I washed it and blocked it, and was gonna take photos of it and everything, and there were a million ends, and so I wove all those in. And then I had to go to the post office for something else. So I basically folded it up, grabbed the baby sweater that's supposed to go with it, threw it in a bag, and took it. And then I was like, oh yeah. My friend Melody came by yesterday, and I was going to have her model it because she's roughly the same size as my friend. And I was going to ask her if she would be kind enough to model it for me. But then I didn't because it was in a bag, and it was already packaged up. I didn't even think about it. And then she left without, like, stuff she was supposed to take from me, yesterday was a fail, Melody. It was a fail. But that's okay. We get to do it again, so it's fine. Okay, sorry about that. My water started boiling and I had to go get my tea. Let's see what else. Last weekend was Mother's Day, so happy Mom's Day to anybody who celebrates it this time. Happy Mom's Day to you if you celebrate it a different time in the year. I know that a lot of different countries have Mother's Day at different times. So happy American Mother's Day to everybody. If you have any kind of mom relationship, cheers to anybody who has a shaky mom relationship, whatever your relationship to motherhood might be. We went... So we're on lockdown still. Texas is still on lockdown. We are slowly reopening. I would say that in my experience of the last couple of weeks, Houston is slowly reopening. Places like Austin and Dallas have decided to charge full steam ahead and are regretting it from what I can tell. And I don't mean to make light of that, but it's really frustrating being part of a state that consistently does things that you shake your head over and just wonder why we haven't learned. Anyway, Houston's doing okay at slowly reintroducing everything. I know that we're not being perfect by any stretch, but my husband and I have gone to San Marcos, and then we went past Austin out to Fredericksburg this past weekend for Mother's Day. Strictly, the San Marcos visit was strictly to pick up a mountain bike that he ordered. He popped in the shop, and they loaded it, or we loaded it in the car. We came home, we sanitized, came home. And then Mother's Day was just to drive. Like, that was all that we went for. We just went to drive. We tend to travel a lot, and Texas is from one end to the other, or from one end to the other. I would say probably 14 hours across at any given point. There's a lot to explore here. He's lived here his whole life. I was born and raised here for the most part, and there's just so much stuff that's Texan that we still haven't done. So for Mother's Day, we went to... I said I wanted a road trip. He asked me what I wanted for Mother's Day. I said I want to get in the car and I want to go because I miss traveling. I'm tired of being at home. And so he said, okay. And he planned out a route. We got in the car and we basically went from... We live on the west end of Houston. And we went over to Austin, crossed Austin, and went to Fredericksburg, which is a small town on the outside of Austin. It has very German roots. Central Texas was settled, had a very high... Central Texas has a very high, had a very high percentage of German, Polish, and Czech settlers. And so a lot of our culture in that area is very influenced by that. So Fredericksburg is a little historic town. It's super, super cute. I highly recommend it if you ever come to Texas or the Austin area. It's super pretty. It's not very far out of Austin, but it sure feels like it. But it has a little historic downtown, and they always have festivals. It's a great place to be. If you read any article, it'll tell you Fredericksburg has the best weather in Texas because of where it is elevation-wise. Central Texas is known as the Hill Country, and the Hill Country is where the Brazos, the Frio, the Guadalupe, there's 3 or 4 rivers that carve through the limestone. So there's trees and hills, and then it kind of turns into like desert scrub, and it basically just has this really beautiful appeal to it that some of the rest of the state seems to lack. So we drove over there, and we went to Fredericksburg, and then we hit a little State 16 highway, and it takes you through the middle of nowhere. And it hits with the Willow City Loop, which is a 13-mile loop, and it's really great for seeing wildflowers in the spring. We decided to do it during quarantine because normally when you go, it's so busy. But we figured if we did it now, we would catch the tail end of the wildflowers. Like, we're out of bluebonnet season. That's over. So we figured that if we went now, that we could get to see some of it without having to share everything. And while we were over there, I kind of guess I didn't read my map very well and didn't really realize where we were. But we were like 6 miles away from Enchanted Rock, which I'll post pictures. This is my son in Enchanted Rock. And it's basically a giant, low, rounded hill that you can basically just walk up. And then it has this really pretty pink sandstone face, And it's just in the middle of nowhere, Texas. It's just really beautiful. So we have never been, but that is one of those, like, if you're Texan, you've been here kind of things, you know, like those cultural things that you adopt about your state or about your area. And so, yeah, that was really great. We got to do that. This is going to be a long one. I hope you guys are settled in. I brought tea. So it is in my sheep mug. This is from Tolt Yarn and Wool in Carnation, Washington. This is their shop mug. You can order these online. My tea is Harney and Sons Paris, which is vanilla, blackcurrant, caramel black tea. It is really great. Harney and Sons is a wonderful tea, but it's one of those where when you put your nose in it, whatever the flavor is super in your face. Like this one kind of smells like cough syrup because of the blackcurrant, but the moment that you put it in to your tea, it's fine. Like it's super neutral. It's a really nice flavor, but it's not in your face. They have a cinnamon one that whenever you open it and you smell it, it smells like big red gum. Does anybody remember that stuff? And the first time I was like, no, I'm not drinking that. But it was beautiful. The Barnes & Noble sells it. So the barista at the Starbucks inside Barnes & Noble was, no, I promise you, it'll be okay. You can dump it on me if you don't like it. And of course I liked it, so I didn't have to burn anybody that day. I was looking for kind of a dessert tea, and as much as I enjoyed the Bird and Blend that I tried, you know, they are UK, and with what's going on in the world, they were just really hard to get. So I got Harney and Sons instead. I like them fine. I really enjoy them. They have a lot of flavors I wasn't aware of. So yeah, I really recommend it. It's great. I also got one called Florence, which is basically like chocolate and hazelnut and almond. I haven't tried that one yet. I wanted something that when I got a sweet tooth, I could just have a cup of tea instead of having to get like a candy bar or buy a pack of cookies. Make a batch of cookies. I don't need 48 cookies. I just want one. So the tea has been really great for that. Yeah. So this is my 25th episode. So I was thinking that I was going through my Ravelry projects and I thought maybe we could do a sweater tour because I have finished 25 garments in the last 2.5 years I've been knitting. So if you're not interested in that and a walk down memory lane, you can feel free to flip it off down here. But I thought that that would be a fun thing. So my first work in progress is, hey babe, I can edit. Come on, I can edit. How's your day?
It's good, baby.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm missing the rain.
No, I'm not missing the rain, I'm recording. So my first work in progress is a sample knit for the Modern Skein, which is a really lovely yarn shop in Montgomery, Texas. It's about 45 minutes north of me. So as much as I love it, it's not really accessible on a daily basis. Sharon started out as an online shop and then she was able to purchase a storefront, or rent a storefront, whatever. And then the little boutique that was next to her actually moved out. And so now she has a double storefront space. And so she was able to expand her shop. It's really beautiful. So if you're ever in the Houston area, I highly suggest it. My sample is the Vintage 83 T crop top. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, by Andrea Mowry. It's being knit in red stag fiber. This is the Estate Fingering, which is 100% superwash merino in the colorway Castle Rock. And then it has 3 colors of Suri alpaca. This is Isle of Harris, Gilded, and Kelvin Cove. And these are, even on the pattern, when Andrea tells you how much yarn you're going to need, she says that you're going to need 11 grams of the alpaca for each color. And that's across all of her sizes. So if you're an alpaca fan, I highly suggest stash diving or finding somebody who isn't an alpaca fan and finding out if they will sell or trade you pieces. Because buying 3 skeins of Suri, especially hand-dyed, that gets pretty pricey really fast. So if you're like me and you hate alpaca, there's no point in purchasing 3 different skeins just to get the effect that you're looking for on this. You could do it all in one color. You could probably leave it out, to be honest, if you really wanted to, because you hold it double. So it offers you this really pretty color fading or whatever, but you could probably just use 3 different colors of fingering weight yarn and get the same visual effect. It obviously won't be fuzzy. The fabric is super squishy, super soft. I totally get why people like it. I can't stand it. I had no problems with the blue or the pink, but I will insert a picture here of what my shorts looked like trying to work on the yellow. But we were in my husband's car while I was doing that, so not my problem. Anyway, I have about half an inch left before I hit the armhole separation. It's just this really pretty slip stitch texture. I'm not going to give anything away, but it is definitely TV knitting. It's not complicated. And yeah, so that's my first work in progress, and I'm coming along on that. The striping is in brioche, but it's super simple. It's just in the round. There are no increases, nothing like that. So nothing to be worried about there. It's really coming down. My second work in progress is a test knit for Meghan Regan, and I am super behind on this. We had kind of a miscomm about some yarn that I ordered, and so I wasn't able to get started on this as soon or as quickly as I had originally intended. I am knitting, she is doing a Hogwarts House Pride collection in sweaters, and I signed up to do the Slytherin test. For any of you who don't know, I am a Slytherin. I am not a giant Harry Potter fan, but my son is really into it right now, and so that means I'm into it right now. Here we are. So I am knitting it out of Cascade Heritage in Forged Iron and Bad Wolf Girl Studios in Herbology, which is Megan's hand-dyed yarn company. And all I have so far is part of the neckline. It calls for a folded neckline, just like the vintage does, and I really liked that effect, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I am podcasting today with this really long podcast on a rainy day, instead of working on this, because I messed up my shoulder somewhere. I don't know if it's the posture with which I knit. I tend to keep my right arm kind of in, and my left arm is a little bit more fluid because I continental knit, so I pick. But I'm having a little bit of pain here and around the back of my shoulder, like my rotator cuff maybe? I don't know if that's what it is. It just sounds fun. And then I get pains here that kind of shoot down a little bit. So I can extend my arm out, which is kind of new. I wasn't really able to do much of that. But I get to about here before I kind of start locking up. And if I bend my arm, then it's even worse. Like all of this starts cramping up really bad. I have been lovingly lectured by 2 or 3 people in my life. Love you, Julie. And so have been informed that I will take the day off today. And my husband's home now, so he can make sure I do it. You know, and of course they're both right. Like I do. I need to take some time off. I don't know if I need to reassess how I sit when I'm knitting, how I knit. I am actually using the Vintage 83, talking about how I knit. I'm an extremely loose knitter. And for any of you who have seen the Christy Glass interview with Patty Lyons, it would have been her most recent one. She talks about swatching, and she pegs Christy because the way that Christy Glass knits is very similar to the way I knit. She uses her needle to open up the stitch, grabs her yarn, and pulls it through. But she doesn't tighten her yarn around her needle to make sure that her yarn is being gauged, that her loops are being controlled by the size of her needle. She just knits. And that's what I do, which results in you being a pretty loose knitter. But it also results in a lot of inconsistencies in your gauge. So most sweaters right now, especially in the Caitlin Hunter, Andrea Mowry area, are being knit at 26, 24 stitch gauges. And most people are doing that on a 6 or a 5. I'm doing that on a 3. So, like, I'm knitting socks for myself. I wear a size 9 shoe. I'm knitting 60 stitches on zeros, and my fabric still isn't dense enough. And I do not want to go to double zeros. I just don't. I'm already having hand problems and stuff. So, I'm going to take a couple of days off. And then as I knit that, I'm going to try to reteach myself. I actually think I'm going to pull out. I have a Sweet Georgia Party of 5. So it's 5 mini skeins and a gradient. And I think maybe a base color. And I'm going to knit a litmus cowl, I think, which is just a tube that you knit and then attach at the end of it. And I think I'm going to do that so that I can reteach myself how to size, and I can get back into having an actually good rhythm. I was a good knitter when I first started, and then I got lazy. So I will probably do that just so that I can, you know, like I said, retrain and have some practice and stuff. I don't think I have any other purchases to share with you today. My husband got me a very lovely Mother's Day gift. He bought me a Fringe Supply town bag. Now, I know that Fringe has been problematic in the past. They have made a lot of efforts in order to try to make up for Karen Templar's hurtful commentary from last year, and they've been very supportive with the fiber community. I have no problem purchasing from them. Everybody to each his own. Okay, there are a lot of companies that I still won't purchase from. I wanted a town bag for a while. My husband purchased me one. However, the photographs be aware of this if you like Fringe and you were thinking about buying one. The photographs that Fringe Supply has of their town bag in brown are not super accurate. So the color that I thought I was getting was more of like kind of a toffee, like a dark toffee, like a mahogany almost, I guess. I'll put a picture of their stock photo here. The bag that I got was very similar to this color, which is not the same thing. And so I had asked I had emailed them and asked, and they were, basically just that it was, the photo was edited, and so they don't have a darker brown. So I returned that bag and I purchased myself a porter bin, which I've always wanted. I've always wanted a porter bin, and that should be coming here very shortly. And when that gets in, I will show you that. I will show you that. So something else that I got in the mail, and I can't remember if I showed this on the last podcast, but I don't think I did. This is the Harry Potter Knitting Magic book. This is put together by Tanis Gray of Tanis Fiber Arts, and it is the official Hogwarts and Wizarding World pattern book. So, again, with problematic people. J.K. Rowling is not my favorite person, but I really like Tanis Gray. And a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of passion went into this book. And I really wanted to support a maker of our community. Even though that meant that I had to support somebody who has said some very hurtful things and some very trans and homophobic things that shouldn't have been said. So that was why I made the purchase, was to support the knitting community. But as far as future Harry Potter books that will be released or future things that will benefit J.K. Rowling, we will probably not be purchasing those. My son is 8. He turns 9 in August, and he wants to have a Harry Potter themed birthday party. So he made everybody in the family, there are a lot of us, okay, I think there's like 15 of us usually, and he made all of us do the house quiz. Now, I've known for a while what my house was, and my son was very surprised to find out he was a Ravenclaw, even though he wanted to be a Gryffindor like Harry, but he's okay. He's really excited to be a Ravenclaw. A niece and one of my sisters-in-law is a Ravenclaw as well, so he's really excited to have a couple people in his house. So he wants everybody to wear their colors when they come, and I wanted to knit him a couple of things out of this book. So I wanted to share the book with you because I think it's really sweet. So there is a stuffy section, so this is a bow truckle. There is Fluffy, the three-headed dog. I really wanted that for me. He's my favorite. There's Hedwig. I think I might make that for Hector. He really likes Hedwig. House scarves. The uniform sweater. So right there. And then each house has different stripes on the cuffs. This is a very pretty cowl called the Mirror of Erised cowl. And the cable panel on it is influenced by the detail along the Mirror of Erised. They have a scarf with the night bus and the 9 3/4 platform and broomsticks. They have the Expecto Patronum mittens. There's sweaters, there's all kinds of stuff. There's hats. This is the Chamber of Secrets beanie, and it has, let me see see if I can do this. It has the lock to the Chamber of Secrets, the snake. There we go. The snake lock. That's the detail. Sorry, I don't know why that word was so hard. So anyway, yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff. They also have a child's or a baby mobile. This is a picture of what they look like. All the patterns are inside. Yeah, so anyway, that was a book that I bought recently that I've really had fun flipping through. It's got like little tidbits about Harry Potter and how they came up with stuff and things like that are just really interesting. So, because it's my 25th episode, I thought that I would celebrate by filming another video along with this, and I would go over the 25 garments that I have knit in the 3 years I've been knitting garments, I guess. I learned how to knit. I'll tell that story in the next video. I'm going to put up a bonus video after this episode, and it will be a tour of the 25 garments that I have knit. I hope that you'll go over and look at that. That way, if you're not interested, you don't have to sit through all of that. So I'm going to go film that, and then I'm going to sit here and enjoy the thunder and the rain and the lightning. I promised my son that we would snuggle down and watch a movie today, so I think we're just going to kind of hang out. And since I can't knit, I can't knit. Have any of you seen The Willoughbys? It's on Netflix, and it is about 4 little kids whose parents are super in love with each other, but they don't like their kids. So Ricky Gervais is the narrator. He's a cat. Martin Short plays the father, and I can't remember who plays the mom. But it has a very all-star cast. I think Terry Crews plays one of the characters, and it's a very all-star cast. It's very funny, particularly if you're a grown-up. But it's about these 4 kids whose parents are kind of neglectful and don't really love them. And basically every time that they ask their parents for something, their parents get very flustered. Their mom gets super flustered, and she just hyperventilates, and she's always knitting something. So she starts to hyperventilate, and she puts it down, and she freaks out. She goes, "I can't knit. I feel faint." And she's just super, super overdramatic and really funny. And so that's my new line is, "I can't knit." But I recommend it. It's about these 4 kids who have these terrible parents, and so they create a fake travel brochure to send their parents off on this really dangerous trip, kind of hoping that they become orphans. It's really dark if you look at it too much, but it's really, really good humor. It's not kid inappropriate. It's very kid level, but it's suggestive enough that adults can enjoy it too. So yeah, I recommend that. I hope you check it out. I wanted to say a really big thank you so much to everybody who recommended me podcasts. You guys, a lot of podcasts. I just went through and subscribed to everybody because I'm not going to remember all of them. And I'm slowly working my way through. I caught up with Chevy, for the Chevy Rel Stuff podcast. I finally finished my binge. She was supposed to be podcasting today. I told her I'd podcast with her. We could keep each other accountable, but she had something come up. And so she's going to do a virtual knit night tomorrow on Zoom on Saturday. I think this should go up before then. So if you're interested in that, it starts at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Maybe? If you're interested in that, shoot her a DM and she'll give you the meeting code and you can join it. And yeah, I think that's it. The only other podcaster I've really had a chance to get into so far has been Taylor at Fiber for the People. Her podcast is called the Wool Needles Hands. I think it's Wool Needles Hands podcast. And like I said, I'm only 2 episodes in, so I don't really have a huge opinion yet, but she seems really nice. Her podcast is much more professional than mine is. But she seems really knowledgeable, and she has really pretty colorways. She knits a lot with her own yarn, so that's pretty neat. Okay, and I'm going to let you go here so that I can get the other video put up. So, I will include some footage of our drive through Central Texas. You can see the hill country and all of that fun stuff. And I hope that you have a really great weekend, and yeah, be kind. I hope the world is kind to you too.